So once again, here's just a total alignment. I wrote this kid's book. It's called Way of the Warrior Kid.
Yeah, I read it.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know about this, but I knew what I did with my kids. And in the book, the kid's scared of water and he doesn't know how to swim. So he starts off wading in the water. And then he eventually dunks his head in the water. And then eventually he covers up to his neck in the water. And then eventually he swims a little bit. And then he finally jumps off the bridge.
Yeah.
But that's when I heard you describing that process in some interview that you were on or one of your podcasts, I said, I put that in my book and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, it's progressive exposure. And so what you want to do, is you can do this for yourself. You think, okay, here's something I'm afraid of doing. Okay, and so I won't do it because I'm actually afraid of it. It's okay, fine, decompose it. Like, let's say you're afraid to go on a subway. You have agoraphobia. It's like, okay, go online and look at a bunch of pictures of a subway. Can you do that? Go to the subway station and look at the subway station and then go home. Or go into the subway station and open the doors and go in and then go home. But don't play tricks on yourself, right? If you say that you're going to go and just look, then just go and look and then go home, because otherwise you won't trust yourself the next time you do it. So you have to keep the bargain intact. And what you want to do is you want to push yourself a little farther than you want to go, but so that you would go. That's all you have to do. And that's kind of a rule for learning in life. So this happens. The reason it works is because this is actually how human beings learn. And so if you watch a kid, maybe let's say a kid that's a little inhibited, because some kids will just take off, but we'll use the kid that's a little inhibited. So they're around their mom and they're in the playground and there's strange kids there. Maybe they're like 4 years old, something like that. And so they're thinking about maybe that they'll go out and play. And so they hang around mom for a while and they check out the situation. And then they'll go out a little bit and check it out a bit more, and then they come back and maybe they need a little pat or something like that, because they're coming back to home territory. Then the next time they go out a little farther, and then they'll come back. And the next time they go out a little farther, and then they'll come back. Because they want to know they can come back. And they're checking to see how far out they can go. And if you're patient and encouraging, even with kids that are quite nervous, you encourage them to keep going out and exploring, then they'll habituate. And, what they do is learn they're competent, and away they go. And so it's not surprising that graduated exposure works, because that is actually how human beings learn to confront the world. But it's a great technique. And
the story in the book, it wasn't, my daughter had stage fright, but she wanted to be in the school musical. And so it started with her in her room singing by herself, but I was outside the door with the door shut.
Yeah.
And then it was, okay, you sing, but the door was open. And this happened over, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Now the door is open. Now I'm going to stand in the doorway. Now mom and I are going to stand in the doorway. Now we're actually going to come in and sit down and watch you sing. And then it was the family's going to watch you sing. And then the neighbors are going to come watch you sing. And eventually she has no issues whatsoever right now. Very confident kid. But that was...
Yeah, that's perfect.
I translated it into the water for the story for whatever reason. But yeah.
Yeah, well, that also means that, see, what I like about that story too is that you established an individual relationship with your daughter. Because kids have different temperaments. So like some kids, if you take them to the playground, it's like they're like you put them down on the ground, they're like puppies over water. Their feet will be going before they hit the ground and they're just gone, right? They're out there playing with the kids. Those are extroverted kids who don't have very high levels of negative emotion. And your problem is going to be that they'll run off too far, So, but then other kids are they're more inhibited. And often they're a little more introverted, they're a little higher in negative emotion. So then what you want to do is calibrate, and you have to watch. It's like, okay, how much can this kid tolerate? It's like, we'll push it. And you can figure that out. It's like it has to, you have to push them enough so that if they accomplish it, they feel that that's an accomplishment. It can't be too easy, but it can't be too hard. You want to put them right on that edge. That's the edge between order and chaos, right? Fundamentally, you want to put them on that edge and let them experience what it's like to be there. And then they also learn that they can be there. Because, you taught her two things. You taught her that she could sing in front of a group, but you also taught her that she could learn to do something she was afraid of doing. And that's a way better lesson, right? That's a killer lesson. So that's good. That means, and you can do that with kids too, with graduated reward. Like, you can watch them, and if they do something, well, I'll tell you how I did this with my daughter. So my daughter had arthritis, and it was really bad, and she had to learn to give herself she had to take injections every day. And so, I think that started when she was like 7. And so, we could give her the injections, but she was pretty skittish about that, and no wonder, because they hurt and everything. So I thought, all right, to hell with this. We'll get her to do her own injections. And so I sat her down and I said, she was pretty motivated by money. She's always been kind of a capitalist kid, eh? So we found her outside once when she was 4 selling all her child books on the street, which was quite funny. I think she was maybe 5, but whatever. I said, look, kiddo, I'm going to give you this needle, and if you can inject this yourself in 45 minutes, I'll give you $50. And so I let her sit, and she like struggled with that. She struggled with that, eh? But by about 30 minutes, she did it. And I thought, good work, man, good work. So then the next time I said, okay, this time it's $30, but you got 10 minutes to do it. And so she did it. And, soon we got it down so that, because I wanted to get it down so there was no hesitation, right? Because actually the anticipatory anxiety is worse than the needle. So you want to push it. So it's like, okay, now, and we got to the point where it was, if you can do it in 5 seconds, I'll give you $10. And so she got to the point, took about a week where she could do it in 5 seconds. And I kept paying her because, well, for obvious reasons, it was kind of unfortunate. She was very sick and she had these needles, and we had to do some things that would sort of perk her up, to some degree. But that was a hard thing for a kid to learn, It's not an easy thing to give yourself a needle, but you can use that graduated exposure and careful reward. You can get kids to do very brave things, and then they also learn how tough they are. It's like, and she was proud of that, man, that she could go and do it by herself, because that was a big deal. It also gave her some control over her illness. Yeah. So competence, that's what you want to instill in your kids, unless you're jealous of them. So